It all started the day we moved into the neighborhood. Ridgeview Estates, a pristine HOA-governed community nestled on the edge of the city, lined with identical homes, manicured lawns, and a reputation for peace and order, which really just meant people with control issues got a bit of power and never let it go. My wife, Diana, and I were looking for a quieter place after years in the city. We thought Ridgeview, with its safety, nearby trails, and seemingly friendly neighbors, would be a great place to settle down, especially after Diana's car accident the year before. She had been a litigator, one of the best, and though the accident left her paralyzed from the waist down, it hadn't touched her fire. We bought the house under both our names, but people tended to ignore her and direct questions to me, an old habit of underestimating that Diana had grown used to turning to her advantage. It didn't take long before we met her, the infamous Karen of the HOA. Her real name was Meredith Albright, but she corrected everyone on the pronunciation within 5 seconds of meeting them. It's Meredith, not Merudith. Common mistake. She made sure we understood the HOA bylaws before we'd even unpacked our boxes. No lawn ornaments. Trash bins out no earlier than 6 p.m. the night before pickup. No visible medical equipment left outdoors. We have an aesthetic to maintain, she said, casting a pointed glance at the ramp we had installed by the front porch. Diana simply smiled, her expression unreadable, but I could see the slight narrowing of her eyes, the same look she used to give opposing counsel right before she tore them apart in court. "Thanks for the warm welcome," she said coolly, wheeling past Meredith and into the house without another word. Over the next few weeks, it became clear Meredith was more than just a bossy neighbor. She was the self-appointed enforcer of HOA policy, roaming the neighborhood in her golf cart with a clipboard and pen like some suburban dictator. She left passive-aggressive notes on windshields for parked cars, measured grass height with a ruler, and even once rang our doorbell to say Diana's wheelchair ramp was technically a structural modification that wasn't pre-approved. I was ready to blow up at her, but Diana just thanked her sweetly and closed the door in her face. "She's not worth the blood pressure spike," she said. That all changed the day of the community cookout. The HOA threw it every year in the central park of the subdivision, a way for neighbors to get to know each other. Really just an excuse for Meredith to show off her gluten-free, vegan baked goods and recite the rule book like scripture. Diana and I went, mostly to be polite. She wore one of her sharp blazers over a t-shirt that read, "Not fragile, just seated." I brought her plate from the buffet table while she mingled. A few people were genuinely kind, but most of the interactions were the same. Tight smiles, awkward glances, and the occasional person bending down to speak slowly to Diana like she was a child. Then came the moment that changed everything. Meredith stood up on the little bandstand, tapping the microphone with the air of someone who always wanted to be the star of the show. "Thank you, everyone, for coming," she said, her voice projecting across the park. "Just a quick reminder, as always, that Ridgeview Estates has a very clear policy on property modifications and visual harmony." She smiled, eyes sweeping the crowd until they landed on Diana. "That includes unsightly additions to the front of houses. Ramps, for example, while understandable, should be reviewed for proper design and should not become permanent eyesores." A few people shifted uncomfortably. Diana stared at her, saying nothing. Then Meredith chuckled. "I mean, come on. Next, we'll have people asking for flashing lights and a wheelchair racetrack." She laughed. Alone. The crowd was dead silent. I stood, fists clenched, ready to say something, anything, but Diana beat me to it. She wheeled forward slowly, calmly, and raised her hand. "Thank you for your concern, Meredith," she said, voice level and sharp as a scalpel. "I'll be sure to raise it at the next HOA meeting." Meredith smiled, clearly feeling she had made her point. "Wonderful. I hope you do. We want to be inclusive, but tasteful." That night, Diana stayed up late reviewing the HOA bylaws. "She wants a fight. I'll give her one. By the book," she said. I knew that tone, the same one she used before going into court. Over the next few weeks, Diana began submitting formal inquiries and requests for ADA compliance audits. She pointed out discrepancies in the HOA's accessibility requirements, filed a petition to amend bylaws to accommodate residents with disabilities, and CC'd the city's Department of Housing on all her communications. Meredith pushed back, of course, accusing Diana of disrupting the community harmony, even going so far as to claim the ramp decreased nearby property values. It all came to a head when a city inspector showed up and fined the HOA for multiple violations. Thanks to Diana's meticulous reporting, Meredith was livid. She called an emergency HOA meeting and had the gall to try to propose a motion to remove non-contributing members from the board, a thinly veiled attempt to get Diana out of the loop entirely. But Diana wasn't on the board. She didn't need to be. She had something far more powerful. A few days later, an official notice arrived. The HOA was being sued. Several neighbors with mobility issues joined in a class action claim alleging discrimination and ADA violations. Meredith was served papers at her doorstep and went absolutely ballistic. She started knocking on doors, trying to rally the neighborhood against us, painting Diana as some litigious outsider trying to destroy the community. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The best part? Diana wasn't just the lead plaintiff. She had also recently been appointed as an administrative judge for the very same county. When the case moved forward, and the HOA requested arbitration to avoid court, guess who was assigned to oversee the mediation phase? Diana recused herself, of course. Ethics mattered to her. But word got out. Suddenly, Meredith's support evaporated. Nobody wanted to be on the bad side of someone who understood the law better than anyone and had connections at City Hall. Meredith tried to save face, claimed it was all a misunderstanding, even showed up at our door with cookies and a fake smile. Diana thanked her, took the cookies, and closed the door. "Now," she said, rolling into her office, "let's fix this neighborhood the right way." Part 1 ends not with fireworks or courtroom drama, but with a shift. A reckoning. Diana, the woman who had been mocked for her wheelchair, was now the quiet force behind a revolution in Ridgeview Estates. And Meredith. She had no clue that she'd just triggered the worst possible scenario for a bully, being held accountable by someone smarter, tougher, and absolutely unafraid to fight back.